Good morning, everyone. And now I just want to introduce you all to Amelia. Now, when I initially started this podcast, it was because we were looking at censorship and we're looking at different solutions to platforms, social media platforms. But what I'm finding is we've got such a diverse group of people with amazing experiences. So for the next few podcasts, it will be showcasing those that are members and those that aren't, and just so that our Frega community can, because what I'm finding is the experiences are quite amazing, and people are really enjoying listening to other people's experiences. So I'd like to welcome you all, Jonathan, Marina, Dennis, and Peter. And we've got a mixture here. We've got two people from the UK, two of us from New Zealand. So you're up early, Peter, and Dennis is from the USA. So what I thought we'd do is this is part two. So it's basically hearing about your experiences with your businesses and an introduction of yourself. So I'll get Jonathan to start. So welcome everyone. Oh, but before we start, you've had this question before. What was something that made you really smile today?
Whoa. What made me smile today? Actually, I put a post up today it was a very moving post. There's a guy who was obviously very unwell in hospital with COVID, and he was not able to be met by anybody. Nobody could get into him, family, friends. He was completely isolated. And, he was just praying for somebody to come and help him. And the cleaner came in.
Oh, wow.
The cleaner came in and it turned out that this guy was a missionary for 14 years and prayed with him. And he turned the corner. And then after turning the corner, this guy said, as I started to recover, I actually just wanted prawn cocktail crisps. I thought I was stuck and all I wanted was prawn cocktail crisps and a can of Coke. And you wouldn't believe it, but the cleaner then came in the next evening and passed him through the door and said, here's a gift from God. It was 2 oranges, can of Coke, and a pack of prawn cocktail crisps. And that's what he actually got given. Amazing. That made me smile. So, yeah. So what would you like to know? What can I tell you?
Just about you, Jonathan, and your business.
Right. Well, my business is really diverse. I was a health practitioner for many years. Then I got involved in plasma technology, which has led me to understand different ways of working with coronaviruses and energy technologies and all sorts of things like that. It's been a fascinating journey, but it hasn't brought in the pennies. And that's brought me back to my MEMON technology, which is electrosmog solutions. And I presented both of those on Frega, and I'm using the platform to really bring some more focus on what I do. It's a really interesting journey. I've known Paddy now for quite some time, and we're developing the platform, as you know, all of us as a group, and we find the things that work, the things that don't work, and what smaller businesses need without all the periphery. And this is what we're really focusing on. And yeah, so that's what I'm doing now, and I'm using the Zoom, the Frega Rooms application to do meetings with my partners, giving them little trainings. So that's happening for me as well.
So what's the name of your business, Jonathan?
I have one called Qology, which is QOLOGY, but the products are MEMON. So on Frega, it's just MEMON UK.
Right.
And I have another business called Better Alternatives.
Great.
So those are two of my businesses.
Thank you, Jonathan. Now, Marina, what made you smile today?
What made me smile? I'm actually easy to smile, to be honest. I smile at myself a lot, even if I'm on my own. It made me smile that I did a testing with Sean and Bobby, and we had a nice session, and basically working together on Zoom and just achieving something that certainly put a smile. So that was good.
Now, Do you have a business or a community organisation that's your...
I have a business called, it's my branding, so it's Marina Dushko. It stands for Intuitive Lifestyle Consultant. And it's basically supporting people to get into that clarity of emotions and clarity through using intuition. Because when we are really in anxiety and stress, we cannot see clearly. And that is not so difficult as people think to deal with. Meaning, I came across this tool over 20 years ago called Sedona method. It's emotional release, and it's working with asking the questions. And like, could you welcome it? And then you choose and you observe yourself. Now, for me, I am the whole journey started because I came from one culture to the other. So I moved the countries. So I was born in Europe, in Serbia. It used to be Yugoslavia, actually. And then moved to England. And 2 years after being out of one, not in the other, I start to feel like in a limbo. And I start to question, who am I? And then I discover the whole thing of internal world. I was like fascinated by it. But my fascination was always human nature. It's just I didn't want to work with the mad people, so to speak, meaning mentally completely ill people. That wasn't my cup of tea. Nothing wrong with those people, by the way. We are all people, of course, but not my interest. So I wanted to really. So anyway, I that's how it came in terms of the being interested in human nature. And why I sidetracked that, sorry, I'm just losing a track thinking, where did I start and where was that going? I'm like, okay, where was I?
And it's okay, because as we go through, you'll get to answers, give your answers anyway. So it was just
yes, I actually remember that the reason I was saying about the emotions is because I was like Italian women going up and down, like I would explode and I would upset people around me, and then I would have to deal with that stuff and their emotions. So now the emotional stuff with a release is much more gentle and much more harmonious. So that's really that.
That's wonderful. Thank you, Marina. Now, Dennis, what made you smile today?
Actually becoming part of this podcast.
It's great to have you here, Dennis. And what, now you've got a vast of experience. So would you like to talk about your business and what you do?
In my business, I help create the images of what other people see of a brand. I got started online years ago, and even before that, I've been doing it since I was 15 years old. And online has been very, very strange, but it works. So
you do a lot. You do branding.
Yeah, that's what I do.
Marketing. Okay. Thank you, Dennis. And it's okay because you'll get the chance to, talk about other things as well during this podcast. Now, Peter, good to have you back. Peter was in part one. Now, Peter, what made you smile today?
Well, it's so early in the morning with the sun's just shining out there, you see. So that's such a beautiful day. But you can wake up in the morning and you can have two choices. You can look out the window and say, "Good morning, God," or you wake up and say, "Good God, it's morning," and that'll determine your day. So basically, any day is a good day to smile about. Yeah. So my business, I'm self-employed. I've been turning spanners for outdoor power equipment for 30 odd years. I was a car mechanic before that for 20 years, fixing GM trucks and buses and cars. And then I moved to the Ford garage for a while, and then I was made redundant. So the mower shop was closed down when I bought it. and it was only just a little room, not much bigger than my lounge, really. That was, they did everything there. So once I started that, well, Anne was, I remember the first time we started doing a starter spring on an iron horse lawnmower engine. Took us blimmin' ages to do the blimmin' thing with cursing and cussing because I'd never done one before. But okay,
I showed them.
now you can do it in 5 minutes, basically, or less. So it's easy. So it's learning. So that's good. So we seem to be a go-to last call when other people have problems, and that's end up with me. So yeah, been married twice, three children, and with my kids and Anne's kids, we've inherited 13 grandkids. So yeah, that's all good.
So are you and Anne business partners as well? So how do you find living together and being business partners?
No problem at all.
Oh, that's brilliant. Anne, can we see you?
Yeah, well, Anne's around the other side. Yeah.
Yeah. So just, hi Anne, good to see
Right.
you.
Off that again, but
So I was in a partnership with my first wife, and then that got dissolved. So I'm in a sole trader at the present moment, and Anne does her own jobs. She's got cleaning jobs all over the place, contract cleaning with a company in town, but she's got a whole lot of private houses, private companies doing what work that they don't want to do. You know, she just moves dirt. She cleans it up. It's there this week and it's back again next week. So you've got to move it again. So that's right.
Oh, that's wonderful. And you're both sole traders.
Basically, yeah.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah.
Okay, so now what I want to find out, especially from Jonathan, Marina and Dennis, with COVID, how did it affect your business? So Jonathan, Marina or Dennis,
For me,
how did COVID affect your business?
Yeah, it's made things more difficult, obviously. I work with partners who would normally go to people's homes and they would do surveys of their homes. They would measure the electrostress in various different parts of the home, and they'll ask all sorts of questions about where people sleep and how they spend their time in front of computers, and look at their Wi-Fi setups and so on. And based on that, they'll put a project together with the requirements for products and get that to me, and then I'll service the order. And of course, that's not possible so much anymore because of the restrictions. So I'm moving more towards Zoom and answering questions online and phone calls and so on. So that's really been it. I've been more office bound, and my partners have also found it more online. You know, they're having to do everything much more online right now. But it's workable. It's just everybody has to make that adjustment.
Yeah, because in UK, are you still in lockdown?
It's all over the shop at the moment. Now we've got 3 levels and different tiers, and nobody knows from one week to another what they're supposed to be doing.
Right. Okay.
And yes.
Yeah, thanks. And what about you, Marina? How has COVID affected your business?
Well, similar to Jonathan in terms of that there would be events in person and workshops in person, and then they change into online. And it's much more online now than in person. But new opportunities are opening up, and we are really noticing the industry of self-help, because now that is coming up more, and that we are really collaborating. So the new opportunities open up. Yeah, and that is also
high rate of depressions. Is there a higher rate of, because of COVID, are you finding that there's a lot more people needing support?
Well, a lot of more people needing support, but the point is the people I work is they need to be choosing to pay for it, and then choosing to be committed to feel better, because it's not just like somebody will do it for you, if that makes sense. It's a process, and like a process of unpleasant relationships, unpleasant situation that is ongoing. But I notice I have a continuous flow of the people who need the support. And to me, it's a pleasure, really. What I mean, it's not a pleasure that they are not feeling good, but it is a pleasure to empower people who choose to go through the process and being brave to like go through the bad divorces, and I mean bad divorces, long process, emotionally and every other way. So to me, that is, it's a privilege, let's put it that way. It's a privilege to be able to support and help, and to see the success stories of my clients. It's like, it's so pleasant to be empowering other human beings. So yes, that's what's happening really. But new opportunities are opening. I am very fortunate that somebody who is my mentor and in a global business, like her name is Heidi Soya. She is, I work closely in her business, learning and structuring, learning better to refine my business so it can grow, and creating the structure that they know it works. And I am leading some of the, like I had a leading of the session yesterday that we are practicing on Zoom. And I was one of the leaders for part of the Heidi's group, which is really good. And it's a new opportunity opening, and we are coming together to raise the standards, because it has to be certain standards that they will come across. People are we are dealing with emotions, with vulnerabilities, and needs to be very much integrity and knowing how to help.
Right. Thank you, Marina. And what about you, Dennis? How has COVID affected your business?
Hasn't affected it at all.
Right. And so how has it, so is that because you've always done things online?
No, well, for the last 11 years, it's been online, but yeah, I work with people from all over the world. It doesn't matter where people are. And the one thing that's really helped me is Zoom and now Frega rooms, because now I can reach people and meet them in person, at least FaceTime, where I could not do that before.
Right. That's wonderful. Now, the other thing that, so I'm just going to leave this free for, because one thing we wanted to talk about is, I think, Peter, you're probably the only one that has a shop front. Does anyone else have a shop front store, or is it mainly virtual online that you're all working?
In my case, I have had people come out to my place of business, which is my house. And I have worked in an office doing what I do now.
Right, but has COVID affected people coming to your house?
No, not really.
No, not okay. Because you're not in lockdown in USA, are you?
Where
in New Zealand.
where I am, the school children are the only one that have any kind of a lockdown.
Okay, now this is a question for everyone. So, what do you do to attract business? What strategies do you use? So you can answer this as you like. Do you use to attract business?
Well, you have to attract it, because it's not going to happen if you go chasing people.
So what is your strategies? Like, do you use other social media platforms?
I use Frega, and I use a place called IBO Toolbox, which right now is not working very well. Not so much. A little bit on Facebook and a little bit on Pinterest.
Okay, and so are you finding that they're all effective together?
Basically, throughout from the beginning, I started my first place was IBO Toolbox. That was where I started, and what I was able to do is I was able to move people from the IBO platform to Facebook, to Pinterest, to whatever, and then I had a second way to reach them, and I've maintained friendships like that since the beginning. On the IBO platform, the L left, but I could then reach them on other platforms, and I've definitely got business doing it that way.
Because Facebook is really changing the way that they're doing business, and they're bringing in a lot of different strategies, and they're constantly changing what they're offering for people. So there's
I
like,
use it. I use it personal one-to-one, and pretty much everything I do is personal one-to-one.
right. Marina and Jonathan and Peter, have you been trying any new strategies, and how have they been working to attract business?
Yeah, I've found that it really is about partnerships now. You know, that's the thing. There are many people in a similar space to me. You know, there are health practitioners, but they don't have the electrosmog solutions. There are people who've got existing electrosmog solutions that are actually not proven or don't really work. They have the intention, but they don't have the real solution. I'm able to partner with them. There are people who are selling alternative solutions, different solutions, and they've got part of the picture where I've got the other part of the picture. So connecting with them and then bringing them into a platform where we can communicate is very important. I think a lot of online media is about, you know, trying to put yourself out there and just put yourself out there, but that's really not it. You've got to deliver value to somebody. So, you know, like Dennis was just saying, you know, the one-to-one connection is where it all happens. It's, you know, if you can connect with somebody in a similar industry or the same industry and really connect with them and offer them something, offer them an opportunity, then it's reciprocated. That's what I think.
Well, advertising in the past, I've used radio, I've used the newspaper and things like that, and it's costing you, well, anything. And I've used web pages, and it's costing you anything up to $1,000 to $1,200 a month just to market yourself and do things and things. Sure, some of it did work, get people from out of town to come into the area and things like this. But at the moment, I don't advertise. I don't need to advertise because I've got more than enough to do to sink a ship. And it's basically word of mouth. It's basically, like I said before, you know, if people expect or receive more than they expect, you're on a winner. So where you go, sort of things. So that's it. So with the Frega advertising webpage, that's going to change in the near future. It's going to be huge, but that's a lot cheaper and a lot easier to do than what I've tried to do before. But even with the web pages previous, I was speaking to a young girl yesterday. She was trying to get a web page because she's starting a business up down the coast, doing things. And I said, "Have I got the tool for you?" And then I showed her all about it. And she said web page design was out of her reach for money wise. When I said you can have one for free, her eyes just lit up and shone and thought I was God, a halo over my head. So yeah, so I'll catch up with her later on. So yeah, things like that. So Frega's going to change a lot of people, a lot of workplaces, a lot of things like that, which is a lot easier.
And so how many weblets do you have?
How many what?
Weblets do you have?
3.
You talked about it being free. So what you're saying is that when people register, they get their hub and their weblet.
Yeah, they know that at the start. And I said, if you want another one, it costs you $3. And they said, oh, that's good. So I've got my camp oven cooking page, my Potiki mowers and business page, and I've got a private one, Peter Lambert page as well. So that's what I've got. So yeah, I think that's more than enough to handle. Trying to keep posts up here and there and all things along. Keeping me busy. It's very busy. This is a lot much more friendlier than Facebook because you do things you know when your message has gone out there, something's reacted to it. You know that. Facebook, you don't know what goes out there and what comes back and things like that. So I have got Facebook as well, but I don't like it. I've never drove it. And now I'm getting more and more people now coming in when I talk about things and Facebook. They say, I don't like Facebook. It's just not a thing. Well,
yeah, we were on a call today with Peter, and he used Frega rooms. So he did a chat, and so me and Donna that came through
on Wednesday. Yeah.
So we all ended up coming into Peter's office, which was great, you know.
But that was at work. That's right.
And then you had a customer, and she was really, really wonderful. So we were actually able to talk with the, together, and because we've all got a company or businesses, we were able to talk with the this lady, and it was really
Carol.
wonderful.
Yeah.
And Peter was going through his Invest Plus with her, which was good for Donna. So that's something we'll talk about too shortly. But yeah, so Marina, so thank you for that, Peter, because I know more thoughts will pop up. So Marina, strategies, what do you use? Because I know you've got I keep calling a wobblet. I think it's a weeblet and a half. So are you finding you're using those tools? And I'm guessing as we go on, we're using more and more, and Frega Rooms does help. So how are you finding those tools? Because with Marina, she's got an external weblet as well. So what we've done is linked to her weblet with her actual external website.
Yes, thank you very much, Anne-Marie, for your support in that. It's my new business coming a lot from referrals, and I do actually belong to the closed groups in Facebook, and I am, like Jonathan mentioned, the partnerships and collaborations, they are really invaluable and very important. So I am fortunate enough to have somebody who knows how to use in my industry the Facebook in a way that it's effective, and so I am learning about that, and I'm using my skills, and I'm using the skills of somebody who is more technical and who knows exactly what to do for my industry in a people that I choose to with the sensitive people or intuitive people. It's yeah, so I using the Facebook, also the business networking online, referrals, and new collaborations. That's and I really appreciate. I'm excited in the future to bring more of course, the people that I know to Frega Rooms, because I just done it, and that's what put a smile on my face. I done the Frega Rooms today, and it worked brilliantly, and I was so excited. It's like, yay, it's working. And that's yeah, so that's what I do.
Wonderful, Marina. Hey, has anyone else got any more to say before we move on to the next question? Okay, and it's interesting what you said to Marina, because I use Facebook, and I use Facebook because they have the numbers. They also, and what we're not doing at the moment, and we will in time as we start building up, is our weblets are public. So if people were connecting them more with the external sites, they would also increase their SEO, their search engine optimization. So I blend them with both. And with the podcasting that I do, there's about 8 different platforms. So I'm working with them all together, and that's to increase the eyeballs, to increase the people to Frega. So I'm using as many platforms as I can. And that's firstly to for my search engine optimization, because I want my weblet to get out there, and there's quite a few, and also to raise awareness of our platform. Because the great thing about Frega is that it really is a journey. Like and I mean, I've read about a lot of other platforms that are very similar, but I believe that we are a success story because we've been on a journey, and we have had both ups and downs. And so yes, so I use a lot of different platforms to get Frega out there.
You know what I notice is that people talk about open source software and everybody's very pro open source. But in reality, 99% of people don't really know what open source means. They just hear that it's more authentic. And for the majority of users, whether something's open source or not doesn't make any difference. The programmers get involved with the open source aspect, and it's important for them, and they might be able to mutate a project in a particular way or do something clever with it because it's open source. But from a user's point of view, although it's nice, it doesn't mean anything. Whereas, with Frega, we own the platform. If you want to own a bit of the platform, just become a member. And as soon as you are a member, you are benefiting from everything that happens on the platform. And I think that is a huge difference. It's just enormous. Why do you want to go onto one of these existing platforms where somebody pockets the money, somebody makes the decisions on your behalf, and somebody decides whether you are or aren't allowed to say what you think? Whereas with Frega, you come on, you get involved, you own a part of the platform. If you want something to happen, you can make it happen. You can integrate, you can co-partner applications. You can, as a partner developer, an application developer, you can come on and say, look, I've got an idea, how about? And all of that, that's just not possible on another platform. On another platform, you turn up, you get what you get, you don't get what you don't get. If it doesn't do what you don't want it, what you want it to do, it's tough luck. So it's just a very different experience, and that's the beauty of it, really.
Yeah, and that's it. It is about experience. So what is everyone else's experience with Frega?
My experience with Frega is that it's exciting because it's really improving and adding to the Zoom that I know, but it's much easier, and like instant call on the Zoom, from the Zoom, you can do instant call. You don't even have to schedule, which is really great. I discovered that as well. So there are tools there that I'm so excited because I can see improvement. It's like a sun. You're in a hub, which is a circle, and then everything is around you, and it's easier. And I can clearly understand how it's going to be easier, how it's getting better and better and better. I've been around for a year, but it changed tremendously, and it's, as you know, we are ready to take off, and I'm excited to keep introducing to people because I know it's not just good platform, but good people, everything together as a technology and a platform, as well as humanity together, working really beautifully. And as Jonathan said, owning, being part of the core community, owning, having the ownership. It's all about partnership in a sense, and every member is like a partner.
Yeah.
It's like opening a Christmas present very, very slowly. It's getting more and more exciting as the wrapping comes off and coming up. And next year is going to be such a change as to what this last year has been and what the previous has been. It's going to be real super exciting. So look out, world. We're coming.
I was just thinking about that lady you said you'd introduced to Frega to, Peter. If she's struggling to meet the payments just to get her web page together and so on, then that's the place to start. And within a month or two, she'll be able to have her own bookkeeping that she can keep an eye on through the platform. And then, all of those difficulties with accounting and keeping track of your payments and all of that stuff is also going to be resolved. So it's another real bonus.
I start to get overexcited and enthusiastic when I explain to some people this will happen, and then the eyes light up. I said, "Oh, but there's more. This could be here. Oh, but there's more, and we can go on 10 minutes, 15 minutes, half an hour. There's more." I said, basically, you just got to register, and we'll go in from there, and away you go. And then there's this. I said, "Oh, my goodness!" So I spent quite a bit of time on it, and it's Frega is addictive.
Yeah,
it really is addictive because it's simple to use, it's easy to go, and you're thinking, and of course the computer's on at work, and you're doing away, and then someone sent me a message, say go and see what's going on there. Sometimes it's a waste of time, all over and over again, the same sort of thing, but you know straight away what's happening, and you reply and where you go, and that's good. That's really, really good. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Now, Dennis, you've been with Frega for a while. How's your experience been?
one of the strangest things for me probably is a lot of the people who are like the founders of Frega, or the people who came in back around
Yeah, they had
2013.
what was called foundation members. Yep.
And then again, there was the group that came in around 2013. I know them. It's like I know these people. So I came in, I was immediately comfortable because it's like I already knew everybody, and that was really a good thing. Um, and even I think if you don't, it doesn't make any difference, because it's like one of the things that I found is 90% of the people have my ethos, the same ethos as I do, and that's helping other people, and that's what Frega is all about. So in branding, what you're doing is you're helping not only the person you're branding, but you're helping their customers get what they want, and that's important. So in the end, it all comes down to helping, and that's what Frega is about. So
And even our apps, they're just evolving. And what I'll do is I'll get you soon, Jonathan, to talk about Invest Plus, how that's one of our reward systems. Are you okay to talk a bit more about that one?
Yeah.
About Invest Plus. I know you and Peter are our experts at the moment, but because there are a lot of people still, and I know that it's going to be changing. But Invest Plus it's because a lot of companies have reward systems.
Yeah.
And so in layman terms, what is so good about Invest Plus?
Right. Well, I don't know which points you have where in the world, but we have something called Nectar points in the UK. And basically you go in and you get your fuel, or you buy your shopping or whatever, and you have a little card and they say, would you like your points? And you say, yes, we'd like the points. Thank you very much. And then after 5 years, you go and say, what can I get? And they give you a can of Coke or whatever it is, but you've no idea what you're getting, how long it's taking, what the return is. It's just this kind of, the feeling that you're being rewarded is that's kind of it. And it's static and it reduces over time, like any currency, the value just drops away. And that's all there is to it. Whereas with Frega, we have the reward token, and the reward token actually pays a dividend. So every token that you own pays a dividend every day. A little fraction of money goes towards that token. So token value, if a token value were, its market value is £100, let's say, the token value was £100. The reason it's £100 is because over a year, the dividend that would pay would be £1. So a token pays a 1% dividend per annum. But because of the activity on the platform, the token value goes up. So you get your token, let's say you've got a £100 token, or a value for £100 worth of tokens. And now everybody's active on the platform. And because of this underpin fund, which is being paid out of all the little transactions, the underpin fund is paying a bit more. So instead of £1, that's now paying £2 over the year. Well, guess what? That £100 worth of tokens is now worth £200. And then the underpin grows a bit more, and now it's paying £5 over the year. Well, now that token pool that you had of £100 worth of tokens is now worth £500 worth of tokens. It's now worth £500 because it's paying 1% per annum. So it's always growing. So that's the bottom line of the difference in the tokens, okay? You've got your static tokens, which is what you normally get from shops. You get a fraction, but it doesn't have a long-term value. Whereas with the reward tokens, the Frega reward tokens, you're getting a dividend, and that dividend is growing as the base value goes up and up and up and up.
So when someone buys one of your products, for example.
Right, so now you understand what the token is. Now what happens is that when you buy a good or a service, you automatically reward them with reward tokens. Now, when Peter and I got involved, we were choosing how much we were prepared to pay, what proportion of the transaction we were prepared to pay, and then Frega would issue the tokens on our behalf. Now what's happening is there's an automatic system where we put a tiny fraction of the revenue into the Frega system, and all of our customers are kind of in a lucky dip scenario where they could get anywhere between 1% of the value to 1,000% of the value of the transaction. So if you spend £100 with me, you could get £1,000. There's a chance of getting £1,000 worth of reward value for a one purchase of £100, or £100 for a £10 purchase. A lot of the time you're going to get the 1%, but it's that real, that lottery excitement that you're getting with your rewards. And regardless of what it is, it's underpinned with a dividend payment that's growing over time. I don't know if I've confused the heck out of everyone, but that's...
Well, you have for me slightly, because when you said it's automatic, and the customer gets it automatically. What about the merchant? Because at the present moment, I reward my customers, and I get rewarded as well. So
Yeah.
how's this new one going? Is that going to be doing the same?
I think the return reward is something that's going to come to an end, Peter. I'm not entirely sure.
Oh, well, that's no good, because how can you build your portfolio?
Right.
Right.
That is not the tokens.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's interesting. Yep.
Now, Petty did say he was going to wean those that were still under the old system gradually. So I'm guessing it will eventually become compulsory that we will be moving to the new reward system.
No, I think so.
Yeah. Okay. So again, with because with reward systems at the moment, you'll get cards and you get discounts and things like that. At the moment, we're getting tokens, and so tokens are like the passive earnings. Now, I made a mistake last week because when we were talking, I thought that you got all the tokens, but you don't. You only get we have 3 tokens. We have the Frega, the rewards, and the social token. So when you buy a product, so say I bought one of your products, Peter, well, both your products, I would then get reward points, tokens, the reward tokens, and those tokens would just build up underpins or passive income. Now, what can I then do with those tokens?
You can do 2 things. You can sit on them and just allow that return to grow and grow over time. And literally over a few years, you can expect that to be a really good passive flow. So that is a genuine, you don't want to overstate the pension, but it's a genuine contribution to your finances over time. If you start, getting your plumbing done and getting token rewards, getting your shopping done and getting your token rewards, buying your fuel and getting token rewards, if you can imagine how much you turn over in a year, if more and more of us are doing that, then the underpin reward will start coming in faster and faster. And because it grows, because the underpin grows, that reward will grow, that passive return will grow. So one option is just hold it and watch it grow. And the other option is then to go and trade it.
Yeah.
So you can choose to sell your tokens. And I explain this a little bit like apartments or flats. If you've got an apartment in the middle of nowhere with nobody wanting to live in it, it's a liability, it's not an asset.
Yeah.
The asset is when you're getting £1,000 a month for the apartment. So that's what determines the value of the apartment. So your tokens have an asset value because of the underpin. So if I buy a token, I know I'm going to get a certain amount per year. So that determines how much I'm prepared to spend on it. So we're going to have the platform, which is going to be Trade Plus, reignited later in the year as our numbers grow. And on that platform, we'll be able to share those tokens and trade those tokens. And a willing seller, willing buyer finds that sweet spot where they're prepared to say, well, rather than put my money in the bank where I get a fraction of 1%, I'd rather go and spend, put it into some tokens where I'm prepared to accept 1%, 2%, 3%, 5%, 10%, whatever it is I choose. And as I adjust that dial, we get to a sweet spot where I can buy and get a good return on my money.
Right. And the beauty too with our platform is that we can also, if we see an idea, we can put it forward as a group. So one thing that was mentioned last year is that because the tokens are qualified, which is why they're also earning that passive income, they could in time be used to buy more syndicates.
Yep.
And so there's all these options that will, will evolve.
That's right. You know, as the trading of tokens becomes more commonplace, you'll kind of know what the tradable value is of a token. And so that will then give it what we call a stable price. And then you have a stable token, which essentially is a new currency. And because we can all rely on that stability, then there's no need then to trade the token for fiat currency. You can simply say, you know what, Anne-Marie, I've got such and such a number of tokens. Would you accept them for this good or service? And you say, yeah.
So we could actually be using that with each other to swap
absolutely
our services for the, and just going back, so for those that I know that you all know, so syndicates for the listeners is with Frega to build our platform, we build, the apps are built, and the syndicates are what we purchase to help build the apps and to help support our platform. And when we buy syndicates, which are normally 50p, so there's a certain number that are actually put up in our co-invest. We also get tokens, but those are slightly different, and those are the 3 tokens, which is your Frega, your rewards, and your social tokens.
That's it.
One thing I would like to add to that is the syndicate units. Actually, the people who buy the syndicate units, they own the app. They are co-owners in the app. You don't own the whole app. You're a co-owner, and you get paid a percentage back forever for the ownership of the app.
That's it. Absolutely.
And then if you decide that you want to sell that syndicate, like at the moment, they're worth £1, £1, no, 50p, because when we buy them, they're 50p, but we've got the auto manage at the moment, they're worth £2.50.
I think they're up at 250 now, yeah.
Yeah, and who knows what they're going to be in the next year.
That's right, yeah. Yeah, and as Dennis has explained it, when we want to create another app, we ascertain how much it's going to cost for that creation. We put a pool together. We say, okay, we're going to need 200,000 units, which would be £100,000 to get this app out there. And then all of us as a community would decide to chip in as little as 50 pence or as much as we like. You know, and there's a sort of a £10 benchmark, which is being used for a lot of the apps. You know, you put your £10 in, you become a co-owner, as Dennis just explained. And as a co-owner, the total group of co-owners would receive, say, 10% of the revenue from that app for life. So you're getting your portion of the revenue, and that's how we're going to have a really broad base the world over of people making genuine good money out of the applications that all of us need to use in the first place. So it's a great system.
And we've got multiple streams of income. You know, not only our businesses, but when you look at all the tools that we have, there's so many ways to bring in those strings, those other strings.
Yeah, one of the things that I found is I actually gaining every month just for the syndicate units I own, and nice numbers.
And for you, Peter, it's the Invest Plus you're noticing is building for you as well.
It is increasing every month. Well, because the other thing too, like you mentioned this disclaimer the other day, which for some of my customers who
disclaimer. Yeah.
who do not have emails, and your suggestion was okay, but I thought I'll just put a note up on the shop wall for what it is so everybody can see it and it's there. See, I have several customers that are of age, not interested, no concept of mobile phones, electronic technology or anything like that. And when I mentioned I'll give you dollars to a charity, they're quite happy with that. So they oh, that's a good idea, that's a good charity. So like one customer yesterday spent $300. So I haven't got an email address, I'm not interested. I'll give it to charity, Oscar, which is our local pet care centre. I said, oh, perfect, that'll do just fine. So they're wrapped, absolutely wrapped. Yeah.
So what happened, Peter and I, we were talking about a disclaimer, because as Frega starts to build momentum, the question that came up, but what if you told someone that they've got tokens, and then they say no, and then a year later they suddenly realize, well, I could have had those tokens, I'm going to go back and buy them, get them off you, but we can't because you've given them to a charity. So the question that I put forward to Patty was, so what happens? And it's not actually a Frega issue, it's between the merchant and the person. But I know it will change once we move to the new system, because it's going to be automatic anyway, Jonathan. And that's actually a good question, Peter, because one of the questions Peter asks, Jonathan, is that with the new system, they will have email addresses, but what if people don't have email addresses? How is that going to work with our new system?
I have quite a few customers, elderly ones who have no emails, no cell phones, no nothing. And down the coast, the big area down there, is huge. They've got no internet, no nothing out. So they've got no nothing. And basically they're not interested. So yeah, so it goes to charity, but just if you haven't got an email address, well, I could put a charity email address in and it goes to there.
Yeah, I think that would be the way you could do it, is that you
Yeah,
put a
and you can
charity.
put up a notice just saying
Yeah.
that is your
Yeah.
disclaimer, sort of. Yeah.
Well, that's just what I do now, because a lot of them, so I give it to charity and I also give some to family. So that's fine. So yeah, that's the only choice I have. So
But
Yeah, I
how
think-
is it going to work with the new system, Jonathan? Because one thing that I heard with the new system with Invest Plus is people are automatically going to get it, but how are they going to get it if they don't have an email address?
Well, the automated part is when you're doing the invoicing through Frega. So if you're using the Frega tool to create an invoice, then by definition you need an email. So you can't always automate, because you can't use Frega's system to send a person an invoice if they don't have an email.
Right.
So by default, you're kind of outside the automated section. So there you're doing your paper invoice, and as you say, Peter, you could then put a charity email in or whatever you like for that.
yeah. Well, that's what I do already. So yeah.
But most people have a phone number, so it'd be interesting to see if in time.
No. No. Mobile phones and things like that. A lot don't have them because it doesn't work. Yeah. So it's probably a good 20% of the customers don't have them. And even some ones even around my age, or some of the ones I went to school with and even worked with in the early days, are just not interested in technology.
Oh, my mum would love it around your place. I tell you, my mum's dying having to try and keep up with all this modern technology. She's got no interest whatsoever, but around here, she's the odd one out. I think if she were to come and live around you, where everybody else isn't doing it, she'd be in her element. She'd just love it.
Yeah. No, it's quite surprising how many people do not have cell phones or email addresses.
Right.
Because I ask everybody every day, and I say, no, I haven't. So okay, that's fine.
You know, I was chatting with a lady who's part of an entrepreneur school this morning, and we were discussing, and so many people now are spending between 8 and 10 hours in front of a computer a day. It's a huge amount of time. And if there are people who've opted out of that, they've got a lot of time available.
Well, that's why there's a lot of weeds in my garden. Because of this. not interested in weeds. It doesn't pay me anything. I have to pay someone to remove them. Next year, spare funds, pay someone to move them. That's what it is. Yeah.
Well, it's been wonderful having you on, and I'm just going to ask one more question. So one of the questions that's been coming up is that the pace of Frega. So how are people finding about our pace? And that, because I quite like it. I'm glad that we're not scaling up too fast. I think it's been a nice gradual process, and sometimes I feel like we're the tortoise, you know, and the hare's already taken off. But we're going along gradually, and it's strengthening us, and we're actually enjoying the journey. So what is everyone's feeling on how they feel about Frega?
For us,
the journey.
Us super non-techies, really, it's just growing slowly so we can grow with it perfectly, you know, and we learn this bit, and then there's a new piece, and we learn that bit, and then there's another piece, and we learn that bit, and there's another piece. So that's the way. It's good. It's good. But you could wish it to go faster, but it'll be too fast for us. Yeah. Yeah.
So, Marina, how are you feeling about Frega? Because I know when you initially came in, it's awesome, you know, because you're fast. You like to go full speed ahead.
How I found Frega, of course, they're mixture. Sometimes it's kind of, it's evolving, changing consistently. What is really nice is that I'm involved in practice and I have good friends on the platform, and actually you're my new friends. So it's really nice. The people who are there, it's like you said, Anne-Marie, they are fascinating and really good people, and different backgrounds. So that's really, and global community. I love that we are all over the world. It's brilliant. And to actually do it like we are doing, Jonathan and I, now it's our evening, it's your morning. And it's all of that. It's like you can be 24/7, but that's where the balance needs to be. So how I found Frega, I found that it's really valuable to have a teams and to be part of the conversations and part of the projects. That's for me really learning. Like, I'm not technical person, but certainly I don't know for anybody else, but even on any limited amount of technology that you have as a knowledge, since COVID, somehow the whole thing jump up, and somehow I'm much more able to do things that before I would be more nervous. Now it's a different mode. It's kind of, now it's necessity, and it's more fabric. It's not like just a toy, you know. So then now it's a different challenge. Now it's a challenge that I don't want the screens anymore. So I don't want to, like, after 10 hours, it's kind of get me off the screens. I don't want the mobile. I don't want the laptop. I just want nature. I just want outside. I just don't want to talk to the technology. I want real people. It is gradual. However, it's a continuous change. Something happened, something improved, something changed for the better consistently. And that is part of the discovery. That's why also we are supporting people who are coming new with mentors, because it can be complex and overwhelming, and it's supporting. It's a win-win. It's caring and supporting people. And I think that's really valuable. Yes, I was arguing in the beginning, can't be so simple that I don't need anybody, but really to have a real person and to be on your side, it is so invigorating. Because I'm doing that with another people in other ways. When it's 3-4 people together, it's much more fun than just on my own, you know. And actually, especially with COVID, we have so much time on our own. So it's kind of, Not that I don't like that, but it's a balance.
That's wonderful. And what about you, Dennis?
Uh, I love
How are
Frega. I
you
love
feeling about Frega and the journey? Because I mean, you've been on the journey for a while.
oh, the Zoom. I was on the Zoom a year before. I used it. At times I use it like every day. Um, but the Frega rooms I actually like better because it has more capability. I mean, even now, when they haven't got everything in place, it still has more capability than Zoom itself.
Okay, so you're really liking the apps and in particular Frega rooms. Now, Jonathan, for you, how's the journey been for you with Frega and the pace of it?
Well, I'm somebody that's I like to look ahead at all sorts of things, and so knowing where we can get with Frega and where we are is frustrating, but it's also interesting how we have to go at a pace that is correct for the processes that we've got at the time. And one of the things, you were saying, we're a bit like the tortoise when the hare's already left. But again, we come back to the community situation, because the ones that are the hares that have already left, they've left with a lot of people's money in their pockets. They've got a lot of shareholders who've trusted them, put the money in the pocket, and off they've shot in a particular direction. And now they've got to find a way of monetizing that investment. And if you look at the number of technology companies out there that are completely in debt for 5 years, 10 years, and I mean serious debt, many of them make nothing for their shareholders for 10 years. Whereas we're already profitable with every single member. It's tiny profits, but we're growing with that so that everybody's foundational investment is growing with them. Okay, it's paced, but we're not stretched. We're not in huge debt to everybody you can think of. We're going at a pedestrian pace, and we're right, as you know, at the point where we're about to flick the switch. And it's very important when you're creating foundations that you're not trying to fix the car while it's doing 100 miles an hour.
Yeah.
It doesn't work. You got to kind of get as much foundation in place and correct and functioning as possible. And like even over the last few days, for the consultants, we've had this big pop-up panel to guide the consultants, and that's going into what we call the vortex, which is the central column. Now, changing that when we've got hundreds of people on board is a whole different story than spending a few days doing it now, which, okay, looks like we're slowing everything down, but actually we're preparing a better foundation. So yes, it's frustrating to see all of these whiz-bang things out there that we could possibly be doing, but we can't do everything at once. We certainly can't do it without debt. And the way that we're growing is in a pace that everybody can keep up with. And we're gonna really start taking off now that the consultants are in with that good foundation. I think it's going to be really interesting to see how it accelerates over the next year.
That's wonderful. What I find with Frega, because I think now it's probably been 6 years since I've been with Frega. So we've watched it go through many stages, and we've watched apps fall over, and then we've rebuilt the apps, but they've gotten better and better. And I think it's that journey. I'm loving the journey, and the more you get involved with Frega, the better it is for you, because it's a technology company, we all own it. So what I'm enjoying is we're getting our hands dirty with Frega. We're really getting to understand how it works, and it's very exciting, because when we look back on our journey, we've all been a part of milestones. And so when I hear others saying we should speed this up or that, I'm glad that we haven't, because we are really getting to work with our own company. It's ours, and it's a journey that is it needs each of us. It needs every single person for it to move forward. And it's like you were saying, you've got to have the foundation first. And that's what I'm enjoying, is that our foundation is just getting better and better. And it's us. It's made up of every single person. And it's very multifaceted. And that's what I'm loving about it. And I'm not, I look at other companies and I read about some that are similar, but ours is very unique.
Yeah.
But I want to thank you all, Jonathan, Marina, Peter, and Dennis, for your time. I really appreciated having you on the podcast this morning. Now, we've got a meeting in another hour's time with Patty's, our main meeting. So thank you very much. And is there any final word that you would like others to know or to share before we close everything up?
I'd like to say just come to Frega Hub. The Frega Hub, have a look at it, watch the little video, register, come and join in.
It's going to be
Yes.
a fun year coming up.
Yeah. So what I'm going to do is, what I do at the end of each podcast is I actually put your names, and then I have a link going back to your websites. So and then when I post up these podcasts, I put your link to your sites and your hubs. Okay.
Good.
Thank you very much, Anne-Marie,
Thank
for
you.
this, and thank you all for being here. And I also want to emphasize, like Jonathan says, to come to Frega Hub, however, and also want to correct myself. I think I mentioned mentors instead of consultants. It's a different term. But anyway, we're changing. As I said, it's continuous change. And regardless of frustration, as Jonathan said, it's a part of the process. But it is, the pace is a good pace, regardless of what we think about it. It is a good pace and it's unfolding. The foundations are very important before it takes off. So yeah, thank you.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Thanks all.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank
All
you.
right. Thank
Bye.
you, and have a great morning, night. What
Off
is
to-
it-
off
is
to
it
work
morning
now.
or night with you, Dennis?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
Is it morning or night with you?
It was noon when I came on the call.
Okay, so he's the middle of us. All right, everyone. See you at the next meeting. Thank you
Yeah.
so much.
Bye.
I'm off to work. Rightio.
Oh,
Catch you later. Bye.
bye.